Hi, Glenn Pelledew here from Eccentric Musician Company. So this video is going to be about using the Zoom L-20 in a different way that many people may not think of using it, including myself. And I had a realization. It wasn't, I can't say it was the other day, but I've been thinking about this for my own use, productions and songwriting, and I'm thinking, like, I have this Zoom L-20 in the live room, and and here's the kit that I have in the live room. It's a Pearl export. Okay, so late up to this point, I've been get you out of light here. Up to this point, I've been writing songs, producing songs, and whatnot, using the DAW, and in the absence of having a drummer, I've been using tools like Easy Drummer 3 and whatnot. So I've always had this kind of like an idea of using this L-20 in this way, as far as maybe it would be better if I utilize the L-20 as in the kit, as a way of let me put you down for a minute and talk this out. Putting drums down against a track, a reference track that was recorded in the DAW or somewhere else, could be anything, and for point of reference, I did actually that yesterday, and it wasn't the DAW audio that I used. It was a local artist that had put a song, a live recording of his song, on Messenger, Facebook, and whatnot. I don't know if he posted it on YouTube or not, but so he wants me to produce his song, and it's basically just him with guitar and vocals, and him basically just jamming it out. It wasn't the perfect timing on that particular one, but I ran it through, without doing this type of situation yet, I just ran it through the DAW, actually separated I did some stem separation on the track, and maybe blend some of that stuff with some effects and stuff back into it, just kind of like experimenting. Not intentional use for using that track, but just kind of experimenting, getting some ideas as far as producing him goes. But I was thinking, it's like, you know what, this is a perfect opportunity to try out this idea as far as playing live drums to his music. So what I did was, and I'm kind of new to this. I know other people, drummers, do this for a living, and they put live tracks to other people's songs, and that's basically what I'm getting at here. It's definitely an option. And a really good tool, and I'll explain that in a minute. So I did that. So I had some trial and error with it, though. At first, I was going to take the stems from the DAW and put it on an SD card, and then send it over to this live room. And that didn't work out so well because I only have 16 channels on the DAW. I mean, on the L-20, right? So if I do that, then I'm using up 4 or 5 channels that I could be using for drums. So that doesn't really jive. I mean, you could. You have plenty of tracks left. But anyways, what I did was, and I found out a few things along that process too, other things that I was doing wrong, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have to do this a certain way, and I'll explain it to you how to do it. Using the L-20 off of a reference track. So, what I did, at the end of the day, what I did was, I took my cell phone and I recorded his live onto the L-20. And that's one way you can do it. I said, heck with it, I'm just going to do it this way. But there's another way you can do this as well. And it'll still work. What you want to do is you want to open up the L-20. And you want to create a new project. It's going to start a new folder. And in the folder is going to have this data file, which is very important. So, as long as you have that started, what you can do is once you get that started, in the L-20, what you can do is take that SD card and bring it back to the DAW that you have, and take your reference track, or 2, or 3, or whatever, and put it into the same folder as the project that you started on. So you have to, do some homework and prepping as far as knowing what folder that you wanted to start it in. So open up that new project folder, and then slide your tracks over. Now the thing is that the L-20 has it's looking for some specific file names. So what you're going to have to do is rename those files. Now, another thing that you need to be cognizant of is whether or not you're recording in 16 kilohertz sample rate or 24. And that's another thing that I didn't pay attention to on my first run around. And had I done that, then it probably would have worked for me. But these little details matter, and if everything lines up well, you can use that track to record against on the L-20. So what you do is you take that SD card out of the DAW, put it into the L-20, right? And then you select overdub, right? The overdub button. The overdub button's over here. If you don't know, my L-20 is not on right now, but I'm going to show you where it is. That right there is the overdub button. Right there. Okay, so that's the button that you want to start. And it's a little crooked, oh well, it's okay. So, and what this does is that you can, so now once you have that into the system, the L-20, you can play it back, and you can practice against that track, okay, and get your drum track down. And that serves as a very useful tool. Before I get into that, though, I did actually cheat a little bit in that I didn't follow through with that whole entire process that I just explained. So what I did instead was I used this connector, plugged it into the cell phone, and then I went into channel 17, 18 over here, and I just recorded it off the guy's video that he posted. So, but it worked. It's no different than what I did with the DAW, basically. So, to simplify things, that's what I did. But I'd like you folks out there to actually try this, and try doing the DAW thing as well. If you hadn't already. If you already, this is your workflow as it is, or one of your options, and you've done it before or many times, then please also, respond in the messages. I'll be looking forward to your input there. But it serves as a useful tool, doesn't it? Because now, I'm not a drummer by any means, okay, but, and I actually surprised myself yesterday when I was laying some tracks down, a drum track, and, I tried different things intuitively, and I can play a very basic, beat with all kinds of mistakes in it. But my purpose is not to play drums. My purpose is to get some ideas, and whatnot, and to have this workflow up as an option, so that I can bring a drummer in and say, okay, let's work on this song. This guy has this song, and see how I vetted out the process. Now I'm, now that is more of an option for me to do when I have plenty of friends that play drums and whatnot, and they can come in and work on a song, scope somebody's song out, and map it out. And if you have the artist here, that's even better, because, or myself, if I was to have a drummer come in and scope out, map out one of my own songs. But if you have the artist here with the drummer trying different things out to see what works with the song first, before even getting into a live recording with the band or whatever, so you could try different things like that. You can say, you know what, I would rather have, I'd rather, instead of cymbals here, right? Right. I can't play. So instead of cymbals, right? Maybe we want, a ride in there. that type of thing. Maybe you want in the chorus you want a roll on the toms or something. So all of this stuff can be worked out with a live drummer in the room against the reference track. So before you even get the band together, you can map out the drum track and get that squared away. That's called pre-production, and that is great too. And then I'm like, I've had this kit for a while now, and it's something that I've wanted to try, and I've heard people, I know of, a lot of drummers doing this type of thing, and they not just for pre-production work, but you send some tracks to a drummer, and they do their thing. Then they send you the tracks back. There's a workflow situation with that, though, that you need to know about, because some drummers might not have 32 channels. They might not have 48. They might have the L-20 or something similar with 16 channels to work with. Okay, so maybe you might get, if you send them 3 or 4 tracks, now you're looking at 10 channels of drum tracks, basically, that they're going to send you. If you give them a vocal, a bass, and an acoustic or an electric rhythm track, then these are things that you need to think about. I don't think I'd actually send a bass track, because I would think that would confuse the drummer basically, and have to work around the bass versus the bass working with the drums, which is kind of what my workflow would be, is to have the bass in that situation work against it, putting the bass to the drums basically, because the drums should be the main rhythm instrument for a song, unless it's a dance type song and the song was created with the bass in mind from the initial start. That's different. In that case, you might want to have the bass in there, or at least an idea to give the drummer an idea of what that bass sound is, and where the direction of the song is, and that to make sure that the drummer knows that it's a bass-oriented dance song. But anyways, I hope this helps. It helped me kind of solidify this workflow, an optional workflow, especially with using it as a tool as a pre-production situation. Right, because now, in the songwriting process, it's huge. It's a huge tool to have. So that's pretty much it. I think I would basically, if I was to do the whole production that way, I would, start with a reference track, and then have the drummer map it out, and then take that back to the DAW, and you have now you have a reference track with the drums playing to it. Then you can eventually overdub all your other parts in, and finally get rid of the reference track. You could do it that way. It's probably actually better than doing Easy Drummer 3. I don't know, there's something about having a live kit recorded with a live human being performing on a song that you can. There's so many different variables that these programs aren't going to pick up on. The dynamics and individual skills that contribute to a song, and the intuition, the musician's intuitive feel. This stuff you just cannot replicate with programs. You can definitely produce music using these programs. I'm not saying you can't do that, but to have that live, authentic feel is just a plus. That it's irreplaceable, I think, from my perspective, my opinion. So, I would use this basically as a pre-production tool, and then once the drummer has, had the opportunity to map the song out and then practice it, then bring the band in and then record. It doesn't even have to be at the same, wouldn't even have to be here. You could use a studio like this as a pre-production studio to work things out before you go into a more expensive studio. But either way, I could definitely record a band in here and bring it to the DAW and mix it, but it's a process, and you have to, you don't have to, but it's good to respect the process, isn't it? That's why you hire certain individuals to help you out, like a producer, an engineer, and the space and all that jazz. These people have processes that most musicians don't. It's not part of their usual day-to-day. So it's good to respect the process and see where it goes. It's better than not having a process, better than just winging it. A lot of bedroom producers wing it, and that's fine, but you're going to get that type of result. You're going to don't expect to get world-class studio, a world-class studio production from that, because it's not going to happen in a bedroom studio. But some studios like mine are kind of the middle way, middle path to that, without having to go into, a huge budget and recording studio. But if you take one of your A-list songs, right, just one, take one good song that you have, and put it through the paces, put it through pre-production. And if you have the budget, take it a little bit step farther, and go to a major studio, or a well-respected studio, and spend $1,200, $1,500 to $2,000 to have that song done. Okay, it's going to make a big difference at the end of the day. Especially if it's one of your A-list songs, or the top song that you have, whatever that is that you think it is, and run it by a producer, somebody that wants to work with you in this type of environment, pre-production environment. Yeah. If they're on board with it, then you have something. If they're not, they're going to give you some advice, on the song. It might be halfway there, might be more than halfway there, but it needs little touches on your end before it gets to pre-production, and then go through that, and just vet it out and do what the producer asks you to do, and then see what happens. Go from there. So you can always say no at the end of the day. It doesn't have to be something that you need to go through. It's better to spend a little bit of money and get some advice and some knowledge before going into a studio. Yeah. Anyways, I think I rambled on. I hope this video helped you. I don't have all the answers. I do have some experience in all of this. I'm 60 years old. I've been doing it since I was 18. Even a little bit younger than that. I've been, practicing music since early age, 10 years old. So, anyways, that's pretty much it. You guys have this video's done on the 4th of July, so I hope you all have a great 4th of July. Let's see what time it is. It's almost 2 o'clock here, and I have a family party to go to. It's a late family party, so that should be fun. Should be fun. It's very hot out there right now, so the party in part was pushed a little bit forward into the day because the heat of the heat. So I pick up these little things, like, I don't want to get into it now, but I'm not a drummer, but I pick things up here and there, and I see these, little practice videos and stuff online. So anyways, those little things that people post, I want to say thank you to you folks because it does help. I'm a guitar player, I'm a lead singer, I'm a songwriter, producer. I've mixed live bands for 30, let's just say 37 years to be more exact. And I've recorded bands in the studio, and I've recorded many bands live. I used to record bands live all over New England. As I ran a remote recording unit, and that was very cool. I recorded bands out of a Chevy van. But that being said, I'm going to sign off before I talk too much, even more so. Anyways, take care.